Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a my 2 cent Switch slash gaming video for this week. I had a little tongue twister right there, and apparently we got 6 stories to cover for this week, especially in the post E3 2019, which for many was kind of mixed this year, though not everyone was happy with everything that was shown. Some people didn't like Bethesda's conference, some people didn't like Ubisoft's. Some people were mixed about Square Enix though, but there were some good announcements there. Nintendo, obviously a lot of people enjoyed Nintendo's presentation, even though it was their digital presentation. They obviously enjoyed that one. Plus, there are some quick stories to cover before we get to our 6 main ones. We've learned about Nintendo released a trailer for the upcoming mobile game Dr. Mario World, which I would say little iffy about it though. I mean, could it be a fun game? It could be based on what was shown, but I'm not 100% sold on it at this time, especially with the recent push on the whole situation with loot boxes and microtransactions. And it's obviously, based on what I've read so far, is that the game probably won't be sold in Belgium due to Belgium's new loot box rules and the regulations and rules that prohibits, because they consider it as a form of gambling. Though we also heard from, I know this is going to come political to some, but what? Oh well. We also heard that a presidential candidate, independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, has thrown his support behind the idea of that the gaming industry or game developers should consider unionizing and all. And honestly, and this is just from my opinion alone, I actually don't disagree with that. Especially when you hear horror stories about like employees that are forced to work hours on end, not being able to see their friends or families, especially what happened with the whole debacle of the mess with Anthem, not to mention hearing stories about how CEOs, while they break in record amount of money for the companies, basically didn't make all the money that they want to and go out of the way to lay off a lot of employees. And also, I would say it certainly is something that I think developers should consider the idea of perhaps maybe unionizing. Well, so for this one, even though I'm not really a Bernie Sanders supporter, I certainly am not against the idea of developers unionizing and all. So with those quick stories out of the way, we'll get started with our 6 my 2 cents stories for this week. And for this one, we're going to be talking about the possibility that the Bards tale might be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a game I remember playing a little bit of it back during the PS2 era. It was basically a action RPG with sort of a top-down view, very similar to games like Fallout, Brotherhood of Steels, of course Diablo come to mind, Boulder Gates 1 and 2, and of course X-Men Legends 2, Marvel Alliance 1 and 2, and of course we have the upcoming Marvel Alliance 3. So it's kind of interesting to hear that supposedly an ESRB rating popped up for this game that could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. So in an article from Nintendo Life magazine, it reads that, quote, E3 2019 might be over, but we still have news about new games coming to Switch. A listing from the ESRB has outlined that inXile Entertainment, or pardon me if I'm not saying the name correctly, the developers that created, I think, Wastelanders 2, and of course Wastelanders 2 Director's Cut that was released on the PS4, Xbox One, and just recently got released on the Nintendo Switch, and I believe they also got purchased by Microsoft, is bringing the Bards Tale action RPG remastered and RESNARKLED, again, apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, to the platform. While the action RPG has been added to the title, this appears to be the same update version of the classic game previously released on the PlayStation platform a couple years ago. I found some additional, as they pointed out, like a trailer. It's an old one, and it brings out, the synopsis of it, which is: you are the Bar, a selfish rogue weary of pointless subquests and rat-infested cellars. Through magical songs, you summon characters to join your quest for coin and cleavage. Prepare to immerse yourself in over 20 to 30 hours of adventures featuring 50 enemy types, not counting bosses, a vast world to explore with towns, wild forests, rivers, castles, towers, secrets, dungeons, snow mountains, caverns, haunted tombs, and more. A full cast of bizarre NPC, over a dozen special bosses, enemies to defeat, 16 magical characters to discover and then summon at will to aid you, over 150 unique items of weaponry, armor, instruments, tokens, artifacts, and loot, more song and dance numbers than any other game, including a zombie dance-off, over 14 hours of outstanding voice acting from top Hollywood talented, including Claude Elwood, Caryelwes. Apologize for not saying his name. From The Princess Bride. I also believe he was in the 90s movie. I believe this was from Mel Brooks. The Robin Hood Men in Tights. Somehow I remember watching that one. As the bar, and and of course Troy J as the narrator, though. Obviously, we don't have any news about a release date or anything along those lines, but an official announcement will likely be made soon. So I would say I would be open if they bring this game over to the Nintendo Switch. It is kind of interesting if it does happen, considering that now Microsoft owns the development studio that makes the Bards and all. But with Microsoft and Nintendo kind of cozying up a little bit, and perhaps maybe they're more open for their developers to bring some of their games over to the Nintendo Switch. After all, we're learning that Super Lucky Tail, we learned at E3, Super Lucky Tail is coming to the Nintendo Switch under the name New Super Lucky Tail and so forth. So I definitely would be down with this game coming to the Nintendo Switch, even though it's a remake of the 2004 title to be exact. Whether it does happen or not, whether they remains to be seen, but if it's showing up on the ESRB rating system, there's a good chance we'll hear an announcement soon. When that happens, well, that remains to be seen. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with what Nvidia might be updating their Nvidia Shield with possibly a new Tegra X1, which could give us a good indication of what direction the possibility that a Switch revision could be like. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Nvidia and what they might be, what they are working on in terms of the Nvidia Shield, which we could see something like this in the Nintendo Switch. Now, ever since 2016, when it was revealed that Nvidia would be supplying an SoC, system on a chip, if I'm saying the name correctly, to Nintendo's next system, which is the Nintendo Switch. People have been kind of wondering, some people have been kind of wondering a Switch revision or anything like that would happen. And while it was a little too early to make any claims of a Switch revision happening right away and all, the recent announcement by Nvidia of offering what could be a newer version of a Tegra X1 chip in their upcoming, or a newer take on their Nvidia Shield, could give us a clue of exactly what we could see from a Switch revision. From 2 articles from a site called hothardware.com, it reads, quote, Nvidia Shield TV codename M Darcy leaked on Google Play with Tegra X1 Android 9 on board. Excuse me. The current Nvidia Shield TV has been around for quite some time. It mentions they reviewed the device way back in 2017. However, over the years, Nvidia has constantly updated the media streamer with new software to keep it ahead of the pack when it comes to capability. In its current form, the Shield TV paired with Google Assist Amazon Alexa, and Samsung SmartThing to form a powerful smart home trio in addition to being a hub for gaming and online media streaming. And now it looks as if the aging Nvidia Shield TV is set to get a true hardware update, according to a listing that has turned up on Google Play, developers' console device catalog. The original Shield was known inside Google as Darcy, while the new console is listed as M. Darcy, though, or Marcy Darcy. If you watched Married with Children, if you remember watching that show, you'll get the joke and all. The new console has been confirmed to run Android 9 Pie. The change for the new Shield TV is an upgrade to a refreshing Tegra X1 T210 SoC. The CPU has 4 ARM Cortex A57 cores clocked at 1.9 GHz, GHz if I'm saying the name correctly, and 4 ARM Cortex A53 core clocked in at 1.3 GHz. The console is said to run on top of Linux Kernel 4.14, if I'm again saying the name correctly though. Developers expect that the new revision of the Tegra X1 will have a higher maximum GPU clock speed and offer better power efficiency. It's not clear exactly how much better the clock speed on the GPU will be compared to the current device at this time. Screenshots that have surfaced of hardware details show that the machine will have a Nvidia Maxwell GPU at 1000 MHz and 2072 megabytes of RAM. Total MEM is 2950 megabytes. The console uses OpenGL ES version 3.2. Since there are several versions of the Tegra X1 and the page of M. Darcy console doesn't call out the specific model for the refreshed console, some of the specs are up in the air. An upgraded TV Shield isn't the only thing on Nvidia's hardware plate, however. A couple of months back, the Nvidia Shield 2-in-1 tablet powered by the Tegra Xavier SoC was reported to be in development. So it looks like as though Nvidia is, if this report's true though, looks like they're planning to upgrade or have some upgrade with a new chipset for their, Nvidia Shield and so forth. So what does this have to do with the Nintendo Switch? Well, if this is true though, then this could give us an idea what a Switch revision could be, given the fact that both Nvidia and Nintendo do have a partnership. Barring anything major happens, supposedly the partnership would last for about 2 decades though, and considering that if I remember hearing this correctly, the Switch is powered by a second generation Maxwell chip from the Tegra X1 line. And recently Nintendo Life magazine has reported that basically that with this new Nvidia Shield chipset though, we could see this in an upgraded Switch. According to what Nintendo Life is reporting, they're saying, as we all know, the Nintendo Switch and Nvidia Shield share the same chipset, the Tegra X1. Nvidia leveraged its knowledge of mobile chipset to help Nintendo create its hybrid console, and as a result, hasn't refreshed its own Shield line in what feels like forever. That appears to be changing this year. Evidence has been discovered within the Google Play developer console device catalog that strongly suggests that Nvidia is producing a new Shield TV console, as I mentioned. They said, and basically what a Nvidia spokesman responded to the finding saying, quote, "We can't comment on which codename refers to products concepts that are active versus which one are inactive, as it can be fluid. However, I can confirm that none of the code names referred to productions have launched publicly. This new link is rather neatly with the rumors that Nintendo is working on an upgraded Switch console, which will be released alongside a more cost-focused edition of the system. It would make sense for Nvidia to produce an updated Shield TV system if it's already working on a refreshed X1 for Switch. Nintendo has yet to confirm any new Switch SKUs in development, but its recent shift on production has more weight to these reports. For those who are not familiar, supposedly they're moving some production out of China due to the whole tariff issues and all that stuff. As far as whether this will make its way into the Switch or not, we don't know if it will or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Given the Switch being successful, and I certainly believe that Nintendo will probably stick with the Switch concept for quite some time, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that this new Tegra X1 chip could make its way into the Nintendo, onto a Switch revision. Now, whether or not it's this Switch Mini or this affordable Switch, or whether it's this Switch Pro or something like that, that remains to be seen, although we've heard reports that supposedly a Chinese manufacturers are putting out accessories for what many believe to be a Switch Mini coming or anything like that. Of course, we'll still have to wait until there is official confirmation from Nintendo to know for certain if this is true. But overall, my take is that although Nvidia supposedly it sounds like they're revising the Nvidia Shield with this new Tegra X1 chip, I wouldn't rule it out entirely that we could see this new Tegra X1 chip make its way over into a Switch revision. Whether it happens this year, or whether it happens next year, or whether it happens a couple years down the road, of course, that remains to be seen at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with CD Projekt Red speaking a little bit more about in regards of the upcoming Nintendo Switch release of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at some comments that were made for the upcoming Nintendo Switch release of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. Now, this game surprised me when they announced, when this was shown off at the Nintendo Direct, though. Because, as I said before, there were rumors that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was going to come to the Nintendo Switch, and at the time, I wasn't 100% sold on it just yet. Not that I wasn't against the game coming to the Nintendo Switch. I just wasn't sure if this rumor was true or whether this was an out-of-season April Fool's joke or anything like that. So I took it with a grain of salt and waited until there was official confirmation. And when the Nintendo Direct happened, it was confirmed that this game was coming to the Nintendo Switch. Not VI by streaming or anything else, but actually being put in a 32GB cartridge with all the DLCs, all the content and everything, with a resolution running at 540p in portable mode and 720p in dock mode with dynamic resolution. And well, CD Projekt Red has come out and said a few more things in regards of the Switch version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. In an article from Video Game Chronicles, if I'm saying the name correctly though, they're saying, quote, CD Projekt Red is proud of The Witcher 3 Nintendo Switch port, and its biggest change involves user interface and controls, according to UI coordinator, I think Alvin Liu. Again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly though. Announced during the E3 2019 Nintendo Direct, The Witcher 3 Nintendo Switch port is being developed by Saber Interactive in close cooperation with CD Projekt Red. The RPG was first released on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2015, so it was a surprise to some that the game was able to be ported to Nintendo's comparably less powerful console. The Cyberpunk 2077 studio has confirmed that the Switch version will run at 540p in handheld mode and 720p while docked with dynamic resolution. In an interview with VGC, Liu also confirmed hardware trade-offs involving draw distance and less footage. We're happy with how The Witcher 3 is playing on the Nintendo Switch, he said. It's still at a quality that we are proud of, but we also understand that there were hardware trade-offs that we had to do in terms of performance versus graphics. Right now, there's a bit less footage, and some draw in the distance are lower, but it still looks amazing, he added. I was very impressed. Unless you point a lot of changes out to me, I probably would haven't noticed them. In terms of content, CD Projekt Red is not really cutting anything to accommodate Nintendo's console, according to Lou. You will get the full Witcher 3 and all expansions, he said. We're not really cutting anything. The biggest change we made involved the user interface, and how you interact is a bit different on the Switch compared to other versions. I think if this is your first experience with The Witcher 3, then you're going to be really thrilled and enjoy it. Our company is pretty proud of what we've accomplished. And they said The Witcher 3 will be available both physically and digitally on Nintendo Switch in 2019. Assuming, barring there's not any last-minute delay or anything like that, they're still saying 2019. Now, if what they're saying is true, and I'm given how they handled The Witcher 3 when that came out back in 2015 on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, in regards of how they handled the DLCs and all that stuff, if what they're saying is true, then I'm definitely looking forward to this. I mean, the idea of bringing something like this on the go is just amazing. The fact that they managed to bring this over to the Nintendo Switch is really impressive. Now, granted, obviously, the Switch, like the PS4 and Xbox One, is a closed box. It's not like it is on a PC. So my guess is that, and I'm hoping they nail this down, is get it at a stable 30 frames per second. Yes, I would have preferred it at 60 frames per second, but if the best they could do is 30, that's fine, provided that it's a stable 30 frames per second. If you want like a real 60 frames per second, then I would say go with the PC version. And yes, I'm aware that the resolution is not going to look as impressive, though. Again, if you wanted a better looking version of it, then go with either the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC if that's what you want to do. But if they could get this game to function and work properly, I would be pleased with this. I mean, this is good. I'm glad that CD Projekt Red is, and of course Saber Interactive, since they're handling the Switch part, is putting some effort into this game to make sure it runs properly on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, there are going to be some areas that will be noticeable because the Switch isn't as powerful as, say, the PS4 or Xbox One. But the fact that this game is running on the system is very, very impressive. Same with what Doom and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus were. Again, they're not perfect ports. They're not the best looking version of the game, but they're not terrible games at all. And I'm hoping that consumers will consider taking a look at this game. Not to mention the fact that they're squeezing everything into a 32-bit gigabyte cartridge. I mean, right now, and I kind of agree with some of the statements that have come out about this, they're putting a lot of developers to shame, especially for those who have sort of cut corners with the Nintendo Switch, such as, we'll give you this half of the game and then you have to download the rest, or give you a digital code. They're really putting, it sounds like they're really putting a lot of effort in this, and I hope it does pay off at the end, though, okay? I'm personally looking forward to picking up The Witcher 3 on the Nintendo Switch. The fact that you could bring this on the go is definitely a plus for me. As long as it stays at a stable 30 frames per second, despite what's going on the screen, though, then I will be down with this. And I've said this before, and I'll probably say this again. If The Witcher 3 sells well, if it sells well enough that CD Projekt Red is happy in terms of the sales numbers, of course, some of that would be how high of the sales numbers are they looking at, though. I wouldn't rule this out entirely, though. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that we could see maybe Cyberpunk 2077 one day come to Nintendo Switch. Now, as I said before in the past, granted, it's too early to make any claims that it will happen, And more than likely, CD Projekt Red is pretty much at this time focused on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC version. Although I wouldn't rule out a PS5 or an Xbox card version, though. But if this does well, if The Witcher 3 does well, I believe that it's not completely out of the realm of the possibility that one day Cyberpunk 2077 could make its way over to Nintendo Switch. But for now, they're bringing over The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt at this time, and my overall take is that I like what I'm hearing. I hope the end result turns out to be true, but given how the reputation CD Projekt Red has earned so far, combined with how they handled the DLC situation when The Witcher 3 came out back in 2015, I do have high hopes for the Switch version, and it's definitely a title I am looking forward to picking up when it's released, supposedly sometime in 2019. I assume this fall, though, and I'm hoping others will take an interest into it as well. And I'm still amazed how the fact that they are able to get this game running on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with the May 2019 NPD sale. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the NPTs. So the NPT has released their figures for May 2019. And from what I've been reading, it looks as though there wasn't really any major heavy hitters for May for 2019. But there were certainly some games that did perform very well. Most particularly, Mortal Kombat 11 continues to do very well for WB Interactive. Although the last NPD numbers showed basically it being the number one Switch game for, I believe. Oh, sorry, Rocky. I mean for April. Okay, come on, Rock. So, but it kind of sort of dropped a little bit, though. So, in an article from VentureBeat.com, they showed off the best-selling games for May of 2019, and the best-selling games from the best top 20 are Mortal Kombat 11, Days Gone, Total War 3 Kingdom, Rage 2. All right, yeah, my cat's sort of rubbing up to me and all. Grand Theft Auto 5, which continues to hang on there. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 6. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 8, MLB 19 The Show. Number 9, Minecraft. Number 10, NBA 2K19. Number 11, Mario Kart 8. Number 12, Tom Clancy The Division 2. Number 13, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Number 14, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Number 15, Marvel Spider-Man. Number 16, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 17, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Number 18, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Number 19, Team Sonic Racing. And number 20 is Yoshi's Crafted World. So Mortal Kombat 11 still is hanging on there as the best-selling game for May of 2019. As far as the best-selling game so far this year, number 1 is of course Mortal Kombat 11. Number 2 is Kingdom Hearts 3. Number 3 is Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Number 4 is Anthem. Number 5 is the Resident Evil 2 Remake, or Resident Evil 2 2019. Number 6 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 7 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 8 is Days Gone. Number 9 is MLB 19 The Show. And number 10 is Sekiro Shadow Die Twice. As far as the top 10 best-selling games over the last 12 months, basically they have Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 1, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 2, NBA 2K18 at number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 4. Madden NFL 19 at number 5. Marvel Spider-Man at number 6. Assassin's Creed Odyssey at number 7. Mortal Kombat 11 at number 8. FIFA 19 at number 9. And Kingdom Hearts 3 at number 10. As far as the best-selling games for the Xbox One, apparently only Minecraft and Forza Horizon 4 were the only first-party games to make it onto the list. Minecraft was at number 7, and Forza Horizon 4 was at number 8. Otherwise, the rest is filled with third-party releases, with Mortal Kombat 11 at number 1. Oh, hey, Rocky. It's this cat's just like rubbing up to me. Over on the PlayStation 4 side, Days Gone is at number 2. MLB 19 The Show is at number 3. And Marvel Spider-Man is at number 6. So basically 3 of the first party games made it onto the list. Otherwise, Mortal Kombat 11 was the number 1 best-selling PS4 game for May of 2019. And over at Nintendo's, over the Nintendo Switch, apparently there's some good news and bad news in regards to Mortal Kombat 11. The bad news is it's no longer the number 1 best-selling game, at least for May of 2019, but it entered in at number 4. Number 5, so it's still continuing to do very well, at least on the Nintendo Switch. Otherwise, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is number 1. Mario Kart 8 is at number 2. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at number 3. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 4. Let's see. Mortal Kombat 11 at number 5. Oh, Rocky, come on. Come on. That's my cat. Alright. Number 5. Yoshi's Crafted World at number 6. Super Mario Party at number 7. Super Mario Odyssey at number 8. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu at number 9. And Pokemon Let's Go Eevee at number 10. And as far as what are the best-selling third-party games on the Nintendo Switch, and this was from the same person who released the NPD, in terms of, he posted it via Twitter, it turns out to be that Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is sort of the best-selling third-party title on the Nintendo Switch. He's basing this off from day 1 to the latest NPD reports. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is at number 2. Diablo 3 at, no pun intended, number 3. Just Dance 2019 at number 4. Just Dance 2018 at number 5. Lego Marvel Superhero 2 at number 6. Lego's Incredible at number 7. NBA 2K18 at number 8. Monster Hunter Generation Ultimate at number 9. And FIFA 18 at number 10. So, if there's anything that we learned from these charts, from this NPD, it looks as though it wasn't really a big one. I mean, there weren't really a huge amount of releases, though, but it does seem to be that Mortal Kombat 11 is still continuing to do very well and so forth. So that's probably was the big highlight. They also mentioned that we're getting close to the end of the PS4 and Xbox One, which kind of makes sense, though, since obviously Microsoft is gearing up for their next system, which they supposedly will be out next year, at least according to, if I remember hearing that correctly. And I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we hear Sony talk about the PS5 and so forth. So overall, doesn't look like anything huge, but it does seem though that Mortal Kombat 11 continues to perform very well. So obviously WB Games and NetherRealms must be happy. And we also learned that supposedly the Nintendo Switch continues to be sort of like the best-selling hardware and all that stuff. So that obviously Nintendo must be pretty much pleased with that. So the overall takeaway is that, like I said, nothing huge, but obviously Mortal Kombat 11 was clearly the winner as far as the NPD charts for May of 2019. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with some comments Bethesda has recently made in regards of their support for the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one has to do with Bethesda and some recent comments that they made, and my cat's wrapping up to me again, in regards of their support for the Nintendo Switch. Now, Bethesda is one of the few companies that I've been kind of surprised that they have supported the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, when they show off the first trailer of the Nintendo Switch, the first game they showed off was, of course, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, a game that has been released on pretty much every known system possible out there, though. So to see that game come to the Nintendo Switch wasn't really hugely shocking, though. The big shocker, of course, for them was the announcement of bringing Doom 2016, not Doom 3 or anything like that, but Doom 2016 and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus to the Nintendo Switch. This was probably the big shocker for a lot of Nintendo fans, to think a game like that, a graphically demanding game, manages to make its way over to basically what many describe as like a portable console and so forth. Granted, it's not the best looking version out there, but it's not terrible by any stretch of an imagination. Not to mention, we are getting, the upcoming release of Doom Eternal is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And while Bethesda has supported the Nintendo Switch, I will say some of their support has been kind of mixed at best, with the release of games like Fallout Shelter and the Elder Scrolls Blades, which I played that on the phone though, on my iPhone, and while as an iPhone game it's not bad, I'm just not sold on the idea of playing it on the Nintendo Switch, considering that Switch has, in my view, has better games like Skyrim, Dragon Dogma, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and the upcoming Witcher 3 Wild Hunt coming to the Nintendo Switch, to their decision, from what I remember hearing, of not releasing a physical version of Wolfenstein Youngblood, not to mention if when you buy the physical box, you're going to get a download code and that's it, which, yeah, I'm not sold on that. Despite that, though, it seems as though Bethesda is willing to continue to support the Nintendo Switch. In an article on Gaming Bolt, they basically point out that Bethesda hints at more upcoming Nintendo Switch announcements, though. According to the article, it says, quote, "Third-party support for Nintendo Switch has largely been impressive," which, as a side note, I would say that is pretty much true, considering that it's definitely better than it was during the Wii U era. It's not perfect, but it's certainly way better than it was during the Wii U era, at least as compared to recent years in Nintendo's history anyway. And the publisher that's been perhaps the best example of that solid third-party support is Bethesda, with the likes of Skyrim, Doom, Wolfenstein 2, and more recently the Elder Scrolls Blades. All have been released for the system, and major upcoming releases like Wolfenstein Youngblood and Doom Eternal also launch on the hybrid console day and date. It's clear that Bethesda obviously see plenty of value in the Switch, but Bethesda, it seems, might have even more announcements coming up for Nintendo's own system. Recently, while speaking in the Nintendo Power podcast, Bethesda's VP of PR marketing, Pete Hines, had this to say when speaking of the company's future plans. Who knows? Maybe some more surprises for Nintendo fans on the way. Bethesda has hinted earlier at the possibility of Rage 2 on the Nintendo Switch, while the likes of Dishonor and Prey have also been missing from the system library. They point out, quote, "Let's hope that changes soon," and all that stuff. If what Bethesda is saying is true, then they want to bring more support over. I would say, I think that would be great and all if they avoid the kind of situation we saw with Fallout 76 in terms of releasing it in that kind of state and all that stuff. And believe me, Bethesda deserves all the criticism for what they have handled it. And the way they've handled Wolfenstein Youngblood, at least the Switch version, I'm not happy with their decision, as I said earlier, about releasing what supposedly is the physical box with just a download code in it, no game cartridge or anything like that. That kind of really turned me off to that game. Not to mention, if you're doing it that, then you might as well just buy the game digital while you're at it, though. Still, it is nice to see that Bethesda at least is making an effort to put a lot of their games onto the Nintendo Switch. While we don't know if Rage 2 or not will ever make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, though, seeing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt make its way over to the Nintendo Switch does kind of open the door to that possibility. We'll have to wait and see. For me, personally, I would love for them to bring, Fallout 3, New Vegas, and even Fallout 4. I did enjoy Fallout 4, to be exact. I would like to see Evil Within 1 and 2 come to Nintendo Switch, if they could pull that off. And if possible, Ghostwire Tokyo. I would love to see that come over. And of course, I would like to see Dishonored 2 and Prey make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. That would be great if Bethesda can do that. So my overall takeaway from it is that hopefully we'll see those kind of games show up there, not another Elder Scrolls Blades or a Fallout Shelter. I think most Switch owners, I don't speak for everybody who owns a Nintendo Switch, I think most would prefer those games that I mentioned coming over to the Nintendo Switch over something like, say, the Elder Scrolls Blades and so forth. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Bethesda right now, well, let's just say their E3 wasn't exactly great, especially now there's allegation pointing out how they paid people in the audience to cheer and all that stuff. And outside of Doom Eternal and Ghostwire Tokyo, none of the stuff they showed off is interesting. So as far as their support goes, it's kind of a mixed bag. Great that they brought Skyrim, Doom, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, and the upcoming Doom Eternal. I'm not happy with the way they handled the Wolfenstein Youngblood for the Switch, and I don't like the idea of them bringing Fallout Shelter and Elder Scrolls Blades to the Nintendo Switch. So I'm kind of mixed with Bethesda, though. I mean, I still believe Bethesda makes good games. It's just that there are sometimes questionable decisions that they made. So we'll see what Bethesda will have to offer for the Nintendo Switch. Hopefully, it will please Switch owners and all. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6. And this one has to do, and this one just broke on Thursday, a recent comment EA made to try to defend loot boxes and all. And it's a pretty stupid way they're describing it now. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 6th and final part of our My Two Cent video for this week. And this one has to do with, well, EA and their interesting way of how they describe loot boxes and microtransaction. Now, excuse me, ever since 2017's release of Star Wars Battlefront 2, loot boxes in general have been under the microscope after it was discovered how EA put in basically these mechanics to create sort of a pay-to-win kind of situations, similar to how most, not all, but most cell phone games or games found on your iPhone or your Android device and so forth came under hot water when people were pretty upset with these glorifying, loot boxes, or some call it gambling mechanics, that ultimately prompted Disney to call EA and tell them to remove it. And since then, we've seen governments and other countries look into whether loot boxes are considered to be a form of gambling, with basically Belgium being one of the countries that has now outright banned loot boxes in general, which is why you're seeing how some companies like Nintendo are pulling some of their games like Fire Emblem Heroes and so forth pulling those games out of Belgium and so forth. Well, apparently EA basically was in a commission in UK speaking with, I think, lawmakers there about loot boxes in general, and they have sort of a well, their take on what they refer to as loot boxes, and it's basically trying to change it at all. In an article on Screen Rant, it's titled, quote, EA is trying to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics. And the article writes, quote, in a move that's somehow still surprising despite the company's long history of questionable video game ethics, publisher EA made headlines earlier today when the company attempted to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics instead. EA introduction of loot boxes into its games has already been one of the industry's biggest controversies in recent years, with the blowback on Battlefront 2 loot boxes so large that the publishers were forced to change the entire system so players would be given the game a chance. Other implements of the same pay structure has also come under government scrutiny, such as FIFA's series Ultimate Team's collectible series, which has allowed players to gamble with real money on card packs openings that have an extremely low chance of adding an international superstar to the player squad. With the practice of loot boxes becoming increasingly vilified and government groups looking to outright ban the practice in several different countries, being the publisher mostly closely associated with the concept has been doing EA no favor for its reputation. A reputation that has already suffered greatly this year with the catastrophic launch and subsequently relaunch of Anthem, a game that still can't release a meaningful update without breaking two key mechanics, though. EA is switching things up to try to recoup some of its pride and standing, according to a report from PC Game N. Carrie Hopkins, EA VP of Legal and Government Affairs, went on record during an oral evidence session with the UK Parliament Digital, Cultural, Media and Sport community, and saying that the company doesn't view it as microtransactions as loot boxes, but rather surprise mechanics. In response to questions from Scottish MP, Hopkins added the wild inaccuracy of EA's understanding of loot boxes. We do think the way that we have implemented these kinds of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one. Our FIFA Ultimate Teams and our packs is actually quite ethical and quite fun and quite enjoyable to people. We do agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling. We also disagree that there is evidence to show it leads to gambling. Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a healthy way, and it's like the element of surprise, though. According to the article, it says, quote, it is frankly shocking and blatantly disregard of how much of a research that has gone into the problem loot boxing, with Hopkins also liking EA's loot boxes to Kingler eggs or hatchable. The difference, the latter two haven't been corrected, haven't had anything to do with gambling addiction in research studies, where loot boxes have, even if many more studies need to be done to conclusively link the two. EA's attempt to rebrand loot boxes in the face of anti-loot box stands in the Netherlands, Belgium, and now in the United States is a clear appeal to keep the practice in place in the face of growing hostility. With EA, it can be hard to separate the fact from fiction, but in this instance, it's not difficult at all. Loot boxes are loot boxes, not surprise mechanics. That the publishers even attempt to assert that they're anything but what they are is an insult to consumer intelligence everywhere, and it shows a blatant disregard for ethics concerns instead of polarizing money. We say it's time for consumers start voting with their wallets when it comes to EA, but if the publisher keeps chumping out games like Anthem, fans won't even need to make a decision. And honestly, I do have to agree with what this article is saying, what other YouTubers and other people are saying. Really, EA? Really? So we're going to rebrand microtransactions and loot boxes in this? Yeah, given the reputation you have earned, given the middle finger you have given to a lot of people, I'm not buying this one single bit. This is basically them trying to spin it and make it sound like loot boxes are a good thing. But after what we saw with Star Wars Battlefront 2, they're not. especially have we seen a lot of these companies, how some of these companies have gotten a little bit greedy with the whole use of loot boxes, trying to nickel and dime people to death. Not only that, but we've seen companies like EA who have come and tell their investors that despite removing loot boxes from Star Wars Battlefront 2, that this will not impact the sales of their game, despite their claims that we need loot boxes because games cost money to make. And while that may be true, games do cost money to make, it becomes very difficult to buy into that argument when they pull that kind of stuff, or basically report huge amount of point at earning where they earned a lot of money but didn't earn all the money in the world, and basically blaming it as they didn't put recurring monetization to laying off employees and so forth, like what we saw with EA did. Not to mention EA gave themselves a bonus and so forth and that. So I'm not buying this. I am not buying this. I think EA is trying to spin this in a way to try to make loot boxes sound great and all that. They try to come up with a different name for loot boxes and all, and I think, to me, part of my language, this is a load of crap to begin with. And it does worry me that with the upcoming release of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, they said there will be no microtransaction and loot boxes, but now it makes me kind of wonder, are they going to put these in under the name of surprise mechanics instead? So it does make it kind of give that impression. We won't know until the game comes out, but it certainly does. So my overall take with this is that I'm not buying this. I am not buying EA's argument or anything like that. EA, you pretty much ruined your reputation, and unfortunately, you do get what you deserve for this. And no, not all of us are buying this argument that loot boxes are surprise mechanics, as you like to portray it as. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the Bard's Tale possibly coming to the Nintendo Switch? Is it a game you're looking forward to playing on the Nintendo Switch? Are you glad that they could be porting this over? Or do you prefer, or you're not really a big fan of this game at all, or you don't really care if it comes to the Switch or not? What are your thoughts about Nvidia could be working on a new Tegra X1 chip for the Nvidia Shield? Do you think this is true? Will this convince you to pick up maybe a Nvidia Shield in any way? And do you think this new Tegra X1 chip, do you think this could make this way over to the Nintendo Switch, possibly in a Switch revision, if the rumors were true about that happening, or Switch Mini being released this year or anything like that? What are your thoughts about CD Projekt Red talking about the Switch version of The Witcher 3? Does this convince you to pick up The Witcher 3 for the Nintendo Switch in any way? Are you planning to get the game for the Switch, or are you happy with the version you have right now, or you really don't care about The Witcher 3 at all? What are your thoughts about the NPD for May 2019? Were you surprised by these results? Were you not surprised by these results in any way? Are you pleased to see that Mortal Kombat 11 is continuing to do very well? What are your thoughts about Bethesda talking about their support for the Nintendo Switch and the fact that they may have more surprises? Are you pleased about this? Are you looking forward to seeing more games from Bethesda come to the Nintendo Switch? Are you happy with the games they have put out for the Nintendo Switch so far? And what do you think about EA's attempt to try to change loot boxes into surprise mechanics? Or mechanics, or if I'm saying the name correctly. Do you think this is a stunt of theirs? Do you think this is like they've sunk really low? Or do you think at this point they have sunk low as you can? Do you think this will fly? Do you think people will buy into this? Or do you think that this will not fly at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications for any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!